Hi, everybody. Welcome to the third episode of our global startup news by Global World. And as always, here with me, Andrew Vasserman from Seattle and Berile from Los Angeles. And today, as last time, we picked several hot news we believe that might be relevant to your businesses, so you can have updates from experienced entrepreneurs, and we'll share our opinions so you can have the most important information in your hands. And with that, I don't want to make you wait, and I'll pass the word to Drew. And Drew, I know you have some interesting topic to discuss. Let's go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So last week, we talked about how the VC space is doing really good. It's a founder's market. Everything's looking great going into 2022, and it was just a bang up 2021 for our space. We didn't have enough time last week, but this week I was hoping to kind of focus a little bit more on the sectors that did the best. And then there was kind of one oddball that was kind of a wild card that I thought was super interesting. So last year, the big sectors were life sciences, wellness, space exploration, as we all know, quantum computing, AI, the metaverse, of course, as we know, with Zuckerberg and his quest to take over the world, food technology, food delivery, agriculture, and of course, entertainment. The one that I thought was really interesting that caught my eye was actually underwear. So underwear raised about $500 million in funding in 2021. It was super interesting because it's the highest amount in the last 5 years, so it's been ticking up. The reason being apparently was Victoria's Secret and traditional lingerie and underwear companies really just don't know their consumer base anymore. So there's been a lot of founders and startups like think Spanx, Kim Kardashian's lingerie line, and Rihanna, big celebrities are kind of getting into the space and disrupting it. And I thought that was really interesting because, quantum computing, right, makes sense. AI makes sense, right? Space makes sense with Elon and Virgin and Richard Branson and everything. But I just thought it was really weird that underwear was one of the top performers. And I was just curious, like, what your guys' take on that? I mean, aside from laughter, but just would love to see what your guys' thoughts are.
Well, I think definitely they're exploring some NFT technology for underwear because Victoria's Secret is known for art in underwear. But it's interesting. I agree. I agree. It's an interesting industry to understand why they are having so much investments. Maybe they have some specific technology or something. Is it a venture capital investments or just traditional investments in this industry?
No, it's VC. There's a lot of just like private investors, and then there's some corporate investors. It's pretty interesting. So there was a company that was called Skims that got led by Thrive Capital, about 150 million. Then there was Savage X Fenty that was led by L. Caterton. The Carlyle Group led another one for 100 million. The underwear company, I couldn't even pronounce the name if I tried. Knixwear by TZB Group. Parade was led by Stripes. They did 20 million. Those are the largest ones for 2021. So I mean, there's some serious players getting in this underwear game, which is kind of interesting.
Interesting. It sounds like Andy's on the subscription, but yeah. What do you think, Andrew?
Well, I think that kind of shows the problem that we have in the industry to begin with. Like, even that we put underwear as a oddball or wild card in this category is something interesting to me because if you think about it, as we get more women into venture capital, we're getting more women into being CEOs of companies and startup founders, and we are getting into personalization trend. It's not surprising that they're going after the industry that did not personalize their attention to customers for decades. So two guys sitting here and trying to discuss what women should do in terms of building products or finding the right market fit, it could be different from what we expect. But again, we probably don't know much about the industry at all. Like, when was the last time the industry was completely transformed except for Victoria's Secret? So
I mean, there was the one company for men, not to interrupt you, that I actually like. Their whole thing was like breathable underwear drawers for guys, like
well,
using technology, right?
right. And I think it's going to be, every industry is going to have some degree of personalization when they can go after customers, like Dollar Shave Club. They went after a big, huge conglomerate and said, hey, you haven't revolutionized or personalized the industry for the last 100 years. We're going to go do this and we're going to make $1 billion.
Right.
So I think we're going to see a lot of personalization going forward. And it's going to be a whole bunch of different industries going to be disrupted because they have ignored innovation for so long.
Yeah.
I think next year we can hear about Campbell's soup that was being disrupted. You never know.
And this is exactly on the topic that I will be talking as well. However, I think there is some technology in place because VCs are coming in, and of course, Victoria's Secret is a brand, and they have customer base and loyal customers as well. I guess, and I agree with the point that many traditional industries will be disrupted and will have a lot of interest by VCs because there is new business models are coming, scalable models, and I guess they have some kind of technology for personalization, but they are building technology in place from the marketplace so they can scale it faster and bigger, and maybe making it more personalized through their system. So I don't know details, but what comes to my mind from like BMW some time ago, they launched Mini, and this Mini model it became successful just because they did this personalization, and so this personalization didn't come with just everyone going to the shop and trying to buy a car. Instead, they everyone could do it 10 years ago already, order a car via website and choose personalized stuff for the car. So you don't have the same Mini on the road like everyone else. And while you're passing by some branded billboards of Mini, all of a sudden it catches some, I don't know, device on this car, and this billboard welcomes you like, hello Andrew, hello Drew, like have a good day or something, and you're just like all of a sudden seeing this, and it was like a buzz of things and inspiration of maybe some nice to have, and it was already 10 years ago. So I think this is where they're experimenting and making it more personalized through their technology and scaling to wide audiences. Okay. Yeah,
also, just on the topic, I think it's going to be interesting to see where the balance is between personalization versus convenience and scalability and cost versus new technology. I mean, Nike introduced Nike Plus a long time ago, which was connected to your phone, and it was a successful initiative. There's a lot of pilots with technology about wearable IoT, wearable devices that are integrated in the outfits, which is kind of cool idea, but hard to integrate and scale. And then personalization is another big one because one fits all doesn't work for everyone. But then also there's an Amazon effect, which is the complete opposite, which we pay for convenience and speed and cost. So it's always interesting to find the balance and just to observe what's going to happen in the industry.
Yeah, and now I'm picking my topic to discuss, and I have found an interesting article at fastcompany.com written by Nicholas Hawkins. So I would like to discuss 5 trends to watch in 2022. And an interesting thing that you probably have noticed that everyone is discussing right now, a great resignation. In fact, according to this article, there are 1.4 million Americans filed application to start a new business in September 2021 alone, just in September. And so it's an interesting impact because way more people have resigned and changed their work recently, like many millions of people. And there are few industries that are considered, according to this article, the hottest: wellness, finance, and property technology. For the in October, just in October, the venture capital industry had 54 billion invested in over 2,000 companies around the world, just in one single month. So the magnitude of investments is increasing, and so what's interesting that the trends are significantly shifting, and because of COVID and because the impact COVID made, we are changing every industry, and now we see 5 trends that might be interesting to watch for everyone, because it's not only like specific industry, it may impact many industries. First is hybrid. Hybrid here to stay. What it means that we are unlikely to have soon the events that we used to have and we really enjoyed and liked. There will be hybrid model, and we need to just get used to it. And so Zoom is already in place. All of a sudden, we may find that COVID is over and we may enjoy our previous life, but in fact, also many people got used to Zoom and got used to technology that help them to be remote. And so people will continue appreciating remote work and remote events, and it will be a mixture of both. And maybe even with that, it will bring more people online and make us all connected. So the other trend is became already last year a kind of a trendy topic to discuss, but this year might be more, is a focus on environmental and social governance, so ESG. And it's becoming an important thing for startups, for investors, to make sustainable investments, to make it environment friendly. I recently spoke with one of the VCs from Vancouver just a few weeks ago, and they have entire strategy focused on companies who has impact part of their business model. So it's not like fully impact, but it has to have some SDG or impact incorporated in their business models. And even if the model would replace the old traditional company that's disrupting the industry, they will also appreciate that and will invest in this because it makes our world a better place. So, and it's not the first VC I spoke with, but they are really into it and they invest big money. And the source of this money is also interesting to know that they are going after wealthy philanthropists who really want to make the world a better place. They have a lot of money, and so they invest as LPs in this fund, so this fund can pursue the specific impact goals. So the third trend they found in this article that is called sink or swim for real estate, in fact. And I think because of this great resignation and remote work and impact of COVID, we are moving all around the world and even across the United States, if we speak about the US. And in some places, we'll see that large, expensive housing and offices will be left empty. And in other empty fields, we'll be seeing luxury facilities and residential areas were at a very low cost for people to buy, considering to like San Francisco or some other metropolitan city where it costs so expensive. It's just too expensive to not everyone can afford. And right now, you may agree with me that just pricing in Florida is just skyrocketing just because of this moving, probably in Texas as well, I guess, and some other rural areas where people enjoy life, they enjoy life with their families, and so they realize they don't have to be in a busy city around many people. And one other thing is the trend that may impact other maybe many industries is called more flexibility and personalization for everyone, like you guys just said. And so every technology will incorporate this flexibility and personalization, and it's just becoming a trend. So it's not like one size fits all. It's the power of the technology, so that allows now to scale personalized products. Before, decades ago, I think it wasn't possible. Now it is a demand for that, and technology allows to scale this kind of solutions. So overall, I think the pandemic has changed the way we live, work, and socialize. Everyone from grandparents to students becomes proficient in navigating digital spaces and the new normal. So as businesses begin to reopen, this won't change, but instead to continue to evolve. And the world of entrepreneurship will follow. So I wonder your opinion about that. So maybe too many trends right at the same time, but we can pick any of those.
I mean, I'll go real briefly. I mean, there's a lot to unpack with what you said. I think the two things that stood out to me is you're right with the Great Resignation and just the way things are shifting. I think entrepreneurship and being a founder and doing your own startup is easier, more accessible than previous. And I think it's something everyone wants to do. Everyone's kind of burnt out from the 9-to-5 and the traditional industrious kind of post-industrial structures that we know are failing and don't work. But I think the flip side is there's going to be a saturation of founders. And I've noticed this too in like my consulting and advisory, is that everybody and their brother wants to be a founder now. And they're like, oh, I have this great idea, I'm going to do this thing. And they don't know how to grow. They don't know how to scale. They don't have product fit. So, you know, I think what's interesting to see is this is great. Everyone's being entrepreneurial, but, you know, there's just a lot of people that maybe don't belong in the space, or better yet, they do belong in the space, have a great idea, but they need help. And I think building infrastructures to help those people is going to be an interesting kind of business proposal in the ecosystem. And then the second thing that really jumped out to me is, I don't know, I have really strong views. I won't get into them here, but I think whether by design or by circumstance, you know, COVID really made a difference. We have made a huge shift into technology deeper. We have done some really big societal changes on how we communicate and interact. I don't think we're going back to the old way. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think it's a new world and it's here to stay and it's here to evolve. And I don't know, I'm excited for it, but I'm also, you know, I'm kind of concerned about businesses and entrepreneurs who can't see that things are different, right? Yesterday is gone, today is today, and tomorrow is tomorrow. You know, small business, mom and pop, you know, people still want to come to the office. You know, some of my people are like, you got to be in the office, right? And it's just like, why? I can talk to anyone. I can talk to Andrew. I can talk to my friends in Russia, in, you know, Estonia, wherever, right? Anytime from my phone, no less. Why do I have to come to the office? So I just think there's a lot of changes that are happening with COVID, and I don't think we're going back.
Yeah, I think you try to cover too many topics at the same news because it's hard to combine them. Personalization trends probably have nothing to do with what we're discussing at the moment, but even combining the real estate changes and the way we work, if you go back to industrial revolution, we went from farming to this 9-to-5 job concept, where we go to work because we have to physically be there, produce cars, produce clothing, produce something, and then we finish at 5 and we go home, we get paid. Now we're shifting to knowledge economy, but at the same time, we still went with this concept of 9-to-5. We go to the office and we work 9-to-5, and then we go home and we have weekends and we have nights. I think especially with COVID, it's shifting to knowledge economy. Actually, you can work anywhere you want. So you can move to a city and then go out in the evenings if you want to. You can move to a suburban area, get a bigger house and hang out there. But it allows you to work when you want to. So as long as you get work done, you can do it in the morning, you can do it in the evening, you can do it on the weekends. It's shifting how people think of work. But the second thing is, I think too much what is getting credit to entrepreneurship. I think not only people want to start their own company and don't know how to, because I think starting companies is extremely hard and success rate is extremely low. But I think it's becoming also of, I don't work just for one company. I have this knowledge skills, so I can actually go and help 2 or 3 companies. So it's going to be interesting how companies will think of employees differently and how employees will think of companies differently. It might even adopt more of a Hollywood model where I have projects rather than I have company to work for. So that will also change the way we have health insurance. It will change the way we live. It will make a whole bunch of different changes. And I think COVID accelerated this, but it's still just in the early stages. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, at the same time, it's also some wisdom from the parents. They say the old stuff sometimes, after some time, become the new normal. So we always can look back like a few decades, and all of a sudden we can see that those things that were popular before, they become now a trend again, but with a new way of use, or maybe new application. As a conclusion on this specific topic, to me, and outcome for startups, entrepreneurs, maybe investors, this is really an important trend, flexibility and personalization, because if you take your company as an entrepreneur and go after every audience, like who's your target audience, everyone, it doesn't work. I mean, it didn't work 10 years ago. It never worked with any company. However, this just tells you that the world is telling right now, like focus on your niche markets and become the category king of your specific audience and provide them the solution that really not solves their problem only, but delights of what they have. And that's just one of the thoughts I have. So working with your customers, customer development is becoming even more important because of this trend. And so people want this personalization, and they will go after your solution if you provide what they're trying to solve for them. For property, I agree, but what just for finalizing on that, I think it's just scary what will we see in 10 years. Just 10 years from now, the world will drastically change. We can't even understand what it will be. It's changing so fast, so quickly. So we probably will understand that we are living in the matrix, but maybe we already know that.
And actually, that brings me to the article I wanted to discuss today. The news is Microsoft just made its biggest acquisition in its history. A few years ago, they made their biggest acquisition by buying LinkedIn. Today, they bought Activision, or at least they agreed to buy Activision for $68.7 billion in cash.
In cash, that's crazy.
And I think that's expanding on what you just said. The reason they bought Activision, it's a gaming company, is they're trying to compete with Meta and Facebook for your virtual time and engagement. And as Danil just said, I think it's getting scarier to how quickly people want to shift to virtual reality versus having actual experiences. And I think that's going to be a trend that's going to be only accelerated. So at some point, I don't know if it's going to be 10 years from now or 30 years from now, but a lot of time will be spent virtually or augmented. And that means that the way the companies work will be different. It means how people can live will be different. So if we think that we saw a lot of changes with COVID and people staying at home, I think it's going to be even more dramatic change when people become virtually engaged with companies, products, friends, and school, education, work, and pretty much every other aspect of their life except for food and necessities. So I wanted to get your guys' input on Activision purchase, on metaverse, on what do you think is going to be the future of virtual engagement?
Well, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I started Global World as the community, I was absolutely sure that we are into era of communities, and every entrepreneur who's building company should have their own community, because it just creates quality network around them. and so it really helps him with supporters and with customers retention, something like that. But right now, with this trend of new worlds and with the trend of metaverse, I can see that we will have not just a few metaverses, we will have endless metaverses of every company. So everyone who is creating something might create their own metaverse, and there will be services for creating metaverse as easy as a group on Facebook. So we will build our worlds like that, and so some worlds will be more successful and profitable with crowds of people and good monetization models. So some will be empty as deserts. So I think this is another way, another industry and new world we need to understand. And so this is where we just in the beginning of understanding, but as the outcome for startups, in my personal opinion, that it's not the trend you should go after in metaverse. You should understand that no one really understands what is metaverse. We are all trying to understand it, and we assume that we understand. In fact, what will be with metaverse in a few years, not even in 10 years, will be completely different than what we understand now. And so what you're going after, what you're testing, is maybe one of those things you will create and it might become a trend. So I would recommend to go after, if you believe this is where you want to test your solution, do something. However, it's the flip side of this is the risk that this industry is just so trendy or maybe on hype. It still doesn't have a practical application. So there is a lot of interest, but the question is if there is a market for this, so you can get your efforts paid for. So this is a question to think. If you believe that you can build a model where you can make profits and build this scalable business, this is something you should go after. So Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you drive some good points. I think, well, first off, I like Activision. I'm a little scared that Microsoft bought it. I hope they don't mess it up. I hope they keep their hands off it, and let it do what it does best, but we'll see.
It's too late.
Yeah, all joking aside though, I think I've been thinking about this a lot, and I kind of come from a romantic English background, but I also love technology and sci-fi. I have wearables, I have an Alexa, everything like that. And I think that the metaverse and where we're going is a natural progression with the technology we have. I think it's a natural human progression. I think human beings have always wanted an immersive experience, right? Whether it be from sitting around a campfire and telling a story, right? Someone lights the flashlight, it's black, there's marshmallows, there's an experience in which you get encapsulated, and everything else kind of goes away, whether it be theater, like you go to an opera, same thing. So I don't think the being immersive is a bad thing. I think it's a normal human experience that we're yearning for. I think the degree at which we're creating an immersion is like the likes of something we've never seen. And I think it is dangerous from a philosophical standpoint. I mean, it's very Ready Player One Orwellian stuff here. Like if I just throw on some haptic gloves and some Oculus goggles and I'm in the metaverse and I don't leave to go to the bathroom or interact or go to work, like what does that mean? What does that mean for the brain, right? Like what's the medical implications? So I'm just curious, to your point, like what does this mean, this immersive experience, from a medical standpoint, philosophical standpoint, legal, right? Do we have to have timers, right? Are we going to have parental like HBO? I'm going to date myself a little bit, but your parents would put on the lock so you couldn't watch HBO at Skinamax after a certain hour. Are you going to have a metaverse timer, right? Is there going to be a parental lock? Just curious about kind of where that's all going. But yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think at this point, I think we really have to separate this into three different points. One is just like AI, we have to look at the ethical and moral perspective of this. Like you have one company controlling someone's time, and again, if you control someone's time and information, you can make them believe almost anything if you do it long enough. So that's the first perspective. Second perspective is you can't ignore it. That's where we're going, at least where majority of people will spend some or a lot of their time. So it's not like a fab where it's going to blow over and 10 years from now, people will just be laughing about this. It will stay. And the third point is a company, like how do you address the metaverse? Do you invest in it? Do you not invest in it? And I think if you are a gaming company or you are a new company and trying to go after the early audience, it's the perfect opportunity for you to become a leader. If you're an existing company, I think the key is to focus on your customers. So if your customers are not on metaverse, they're not spending 2 hours a day sitting there, it doesn't make sense for you to invest. And if you're an enterprise, as Drew mentioned and Danil, it's not clear what the metaverse will look like in 10 years from now. Is it going to be Microsoft, Facebook, and Amazon controlling some of it? Is it going to be 100 different small companies for every community? We don't really know what it looks like. And if you're an enterprise, you can always invest when you see a clear return on investment. So you understand the customer acquisition cost, you understand the lifetime value of a customer, you can always invest in it. So I think from those 3 different perspectives, it's going to change the way people live in the next 20 years, but it's too early to say what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I hope in metaverse of Microsoft, we won't see Excel as it is right now. So probably they change the spreadsheet into something more more sexy and usable than we have right now, because everybody is trying to change Excel spreadsheet, but still Excel is in place, and I keep using it as well. Before you go, I have some other news to tell you guys. So we had a great talk today with a venture investor from Denmark, Peter Barnoy, the founding partner of Nordic Eye Venture Capital. We spoke, and this talk is already on our YouTube channel. We spoke about exit strategy. You know, I thought I know a lot about exit strategy. I haven't done it myself, but I thought I know a lot. And this guy had done over 15 exits for his companies and 65 merger acquisitions. So we just had a 40-minute talk with him, and he gave so many recommendations. And so I'm giving some recommendation to the audience. We have to watch it. In my opinion, preparing an exit strategy for founders when they are fundraising is super important, because without that, they won't be able to attract good investors who really understand how and why they invest in startups. So this is something to work on, but beyond that, it's not just an exit strategy. Oh, we're going to sell ourselves to one company, or we do an IPO. No, there is plenty of steps and recommendations you have to do just to not to make mistakes. And one of the thing of exit strategy he just gave a recommendation to avoid is that when a company comes with a check acquiring you, don't be super excited and don't buy Rolex and spend your money all across before you get money in the bank. And it really happens with entrepreneurs. It's like real cases. And with one deal, he had to drop one deal just because of some reasons. And that guy was super upset just because he already bought a fur coat for his wife and a Rolex or something like that. So yeah. And the other thing I wanted to tell everyone, and so you guys as well, you can see that as well. We are having amazing speakers for tomorrow, after tomorrow. So we have a few talks. Tomorrow we will discuss Russian startup ecosystem, on January 20th, we'll discuss to code or not to code with experienced founders in the industry of starting companies, but from technical standpoint. And these guys will be debating whether there will be one programmer and one no coder, and they will be colliding in their opinions about like what's better. And it's interesting debate we're gonna have, and there will be practical advice on both sides. We will have also a company, a subsidiary of ByteDance, Lark, and they will be discussing hypergrowth through culture and tools. These guys work for multi-billion-dollar company, and they have a lot of expertise. So this guy just spoke today about exit strategy, and early February he will talk about how to fundraise around Series A round. Considering the talk today, I'm really encouraging everyone to register for this talk, because Peter can answer your questions. Fundraising at round A is super complex, especially if you've never done that. He will give you practical advice, recommendations, and steps. So, and you may answer your questions. And the other guy who inspires me as a speaker will talk about how to pitch with purpose. He is about to publish his another book soon about pitching, and so he is from Netherlands, a very professional guy with so much expertise and knowledge about pitching that can inspire people, that can help you with fundraising, that can help you to sell. And it's not just because of just basic goal you have in presentation, but there should be an impact purpose, and how to do this, how to do it naturally. He will give you some guidance and recommendations. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate for our third podcast that happened today. I look forward for our next one. We'll meet next Wednesday. And everyone who's watching us, don't forget to press a like button. It helps us to spread this information across many entrepreneurs. Show your comments below, and ask us questions so we can give you some recommendations, answers, and happy to interact with you. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yeah.
And I will end with, please actually write in the comments if you think founders should have an exit strategy. I think it's an interesting topic. And from my opinion, if a founder comes in with, I'm going to be acquired for $100 million, you're not thinking big enough. And your exit strategy should be to build $1 billion company or more and stay with it. And even IPO is an exit for your employees and for your investors. It shouldn't be an exit strategy for a company, at least in my opinion. So guys, go write down comments below what you actually think about this.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Andrew. And